E fala galera, quem fala é 02 FLOK, hoje galera, tô aqui pra trazer pra vocês mais um vídeo. Galera, hoje a gente tá aqui pra... Galera, não é um vídeo, na verdade é uma live. Talvez seja curta, talvez seja mais longa, mas beleza. Galera, a gente tá aqui porque hoje vai ser o evento do Red Player 2. Falta 3 minutos, que tem ali também, ó. Falta 3 minutos, galera. E hoje eu tô aqui junto com o Lucas Game Over.
Oi galera, tudo bem com vocês? Eu não vou estar participando dessa live. Não vou estar participando do jogo, pelo menos. Mas eu vou estar aqui falando com vocês e tal, olhando o chat.
É, isso mesmo. E galera, bora porque falta 2 minutos ali. Enquanto isso a gente pode bater um papo. Então galera, já se inscrevam no canal, deixem o like, compartilhem para todos os amigos, que vai me ajudar muito. Então, bora, viu? Vamos esperar aqui, agora é só esperar por enquanto. Então, eu vou fazer um negócio aqui, galera, pra ele...
Vou estar fazendo uma parte ali. E o link do servidor do 02 FLOK, no caso, me engano, meu amigo, vai estar aqui na descrição. Se você quiser ver as fases que eu faço e que pessoas também do server dele também fazem, é só você entrar aí no server que vai estar aí o convite, você procura o chat fan arts, vai estar lá algumas pelo menos, e é isso.
Galera, eu vou copiar aqui, compartilhar o link da live. Beleza. Olha lá. Aqui.
Tá lá dentro, né? Quer dizer, de vez em quando dá uma travada, né? Mas então, galera, esse evento eu não vou poder estar participando. É uma coisa muito triste, eu até me chateei.
Pois é, né?
Tal coisas da minha vida que prefiro não dizer. É isso. Você entrar aí no...
Pois é.
E sim, galera, faltam 50 segundos pra começar. O
Olha
evento.
ali, ó. Falta 33, galera. Bora lá.
A gente consegue. E bom, galera, eu vou dar uma mini explicação de por que meu canal está parado esses dias. E que eu sei que eu prometo sempre sexta, sábado, domingo postar vídeo, mas não tá muito fácil fazer isso por conta de motivos. Mas eu vou estar tentando gravar os vídeos nos horários, que não tem horário certo.
Opa, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Oh, ficou tudo escuro.
Caraca.
Que isso?
A live tá um pouquinho atrasada.
Eu sou o único aqui em cima.
Como é que você conseguiu?
Nossa senhora. Que isso?
Tá tocando alguma música?
Oh. Ouvi alguma coisa.
A pessoa saiu voando.
Não é isso? A tela do negócio tá toda preta, velho.
Vai acontecer alguma coisa, eu acho. Quer dizer, tem que acontecer. Aí imagina, abre os 3 portões e todo mundo ganha emblema de item.
Oh, que isso?
Fica puto.
Que é isso? Um monte de... Oh! Calma, vai ligar. Vai ligar isso aqui, vai ligar.
Apareceu o pig ali.
Vai ligar isso aqui, eu confio.
Mas não tá ligado já? Ligando. Tá ligado? Tá ligado? Não. Rapaz, eu tô vendo pela live esse evento, galera. Não tô no jogo, pode procurar uma nick aí que eu não tô. Tô vendo
Não
pelo...
tá no jogo não.
Mas muito da hora, pena que eu não peguei esses itens.
Só peguei esse daqui, ó.
Ah, faz sentido.
Oh! Calma, vou botar som.
Até agora tá tudo preto.
Hey, Dave, good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's
Not
been a
many
couple
people
years.
do ainda, tá tudo
Last
preto.
time we were together, we were hanging at South by Southwest talking about your first book, Ready Player One.
Caraca, bicho, não.
But today it's Ready Player Two, and
Eu
you
vou
know, we're
até desmutar
celebrating the
live.
publication in the US and the UK. I think it's safe to say this is probably the most highly anticipated fiction book of 2020. It's clearly on track to be a massive hit. I've read it. I'm blown away. It's worth it. It's worth the wait.
And be with their friends and spend time together in a virtual space has been really therapeutic. So you guys are doing good work.
So hey, you're making history with Ready Player 2. Let's roll back
Meu
to
Deus.
Ready Player 1 because
Meu
you
Deus.
captured the imagination, I think, of just so many people from so many walks of life. And there was a movie
Esse
that
evento
came
tá
out
muito
of
da
that,
hora.
which was
Hoje
also
eu encontrei o
incredible.
Crickcraft,
Does
velho,
anything
no
stand
jogo.
out for all of us that fantasize about making movies and
Será?
being in the movies and working with Spielberg? Does anything stand out from that experience for you?
Well, the whole
Pelo
experience
que dá pra ver,
stands out.
galera,
This
são...
past year I've kind of been living in my memories of it because I've been in quarantine for a big chunk of the year. I've spent a lot of time thinking about what a great year 2018 was and how it just exceeded all my expectations. Really what you imagine making a movie with Steven Spielberg is it's really like that. It's like a dream come true, and I got to see so many things that were in my book, brought to life, including the stacks, like this idea of stacked trailers that I built in my imagination ended up getting built for real. So that stands out to me. I remember driving towards Leavesden Studio in London and seeing the stacks on the skyline for real, and engineers had built this thing that I just imagined.
When you have this in your imagination and then all of a sudden you see it in the movie in real life, how does that feel? Was it at the point of your imagination, beyond your imagination? Like, how do the two line up there?
Well, in my imagination, I don't drill down into all the minute details the way that they do when they make a movie. You have to dress the sets and imagine everything. So I could walk up into any one of these stacks of trailers and go into any trailer to full trailer, like somebody lived there. And people were living there. For the few days that we were shooting in the stacks, it was filled with extras who were all, dressed like it was 2045. It was just incredible. It was really a surreal experience. It felt like a dream kind of the whole time I was there. So even looking back on it now, I have to remind myself.
Agora o que eu tô falando vai
I
aparecer
know
só
from
daqui
last
a
time we
uns
talked,
segundos.
you're a big Spielberg fan. And if we move out of science fiction into non-science fiction movies, he's got a huge collection there as well. Is there anything that pops out to you like an old favorite of yours?
Out of his non-science fiction films, I would say Jaws is probably my all-time.
That movie, I remember seeing it and being scared in the movie theater with my parents.
Yeah, everyone was, yeah.
Was there anything in that movie that you thought stuck out to you? Favorite line? Anything from it?
O nome do cara parece russo, velho. David Buzz.
Whenever the tools at hand are not sufficient. That's
www.readyplayer2.
Now that we're getting into Ready Player 2, in a way, you've kind of contributed a bit to the advancement of VR. And is there any way you can think about how you've seen this pan out in almost real life? For us, in the midst of COVID, like I mentioned, we've seen the virtual birthday parties, people trying to connect, younger people trying to figure out how to, work at a distance even. Have you seen any of this come true in your life?
Eu vou entrar no site que tá aparecendo ali embaixo, só pra ver o que é.
Even the news anchors and every
site
host of late night television, everybody's having to do everything from home virtually through the internet, including my daughter who's going to school online, and then also in the evenings she'll hang out with her friends in Roblox and spend time in a virtual space there. Which reminds me, she wanted me to ask you if you could get her a unicorn.
I think there's probably hundreds of different types of unicorns, and now that we've we've opened up the UGC store on Roblox, there are probably people making unicorns.
Oh, right on.
So absolutely, like,
Alright.
you know, high five to that. A lot of people now are talking about the metaverse, and we've also seen people starting to chat, not just about how we work or how we learn, but how we consume entertainment, how we work together. Ultimately, I think the vision of Ready Player One and Ready Player Two, and thinking about this vision of the metaverse, is all these things we do in real life, we can start to imagine, you know, doing in the metaverse. Have you seen any other pandemic-related things going on related to that, or any other metaverse-related advancements since you wrote Ready Player One?
Yeah, a bunch. You know, so much of what I was just imagining in Ready Player One has since come about. Like the Oculus Quest, I got a Oculus Quest, my Oculus Quest here that I use to hang out in big screen with my friends. There's a VR app called Big Screen where you can hang out in a virtual cinema and with up to like 12 of your friends and all watch a movie together. And afterwards, when you hung out in a virtual space, you really feel like you spent time together. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so we did, you know, like the One World Together concert inside of Roblox, and there was this really interesting thing of walking around with friends, then looking up at the screen. I found myself going from in 3D screen to full screen mode back and forth, and I really like looking over to my friends next to me and like watching it together. I caught a little of that energy, which I think is what we're all hopeful that the metaverse can kind of bring.
Nossa
So I'm looking behind you at your vehicles.
Okay.
I
Calma,
actually
calma.
have two DeLoreans hidden back here. So this is my garage where I come for inspiration.
When I was just out of high school, I had a 1969 Pontiac Firebird, 400 cubic inch V8, 4-speed. I know DeLorean is like super favorite for you. Do you use the DeLorean? Like, how often do you drive it?
I like to take this car out every night between usually like 8 and 10 o'clock and listen to 80s music and just like recharge my creative batteries. And whenever I take it out, it always makes people happy. You know, when they're seeing the car, usually somebody's seeing the DeLorean for the first time and they've never seen a time machine in person. So it's like a traveling happiness mobile.
You know, one thing I'm curious about, those DeLoreans, are they stock, or have you had to like modify the engine or anything to keep them going?
Yeah, they're all like 35 years old. They made all the DeLoreans between 81 and 82. So they're all about 40, almost 40 years old now.
Beleza.
And, like a hobby, you know, having a car like an old car like this antique.
Hora da live, esse evento tá sendo muito legal. Mas já vai deixando aqui o seu like, compartilhando para os seus amigos, para esse canal se fortalecer.
Oh yeah, they never rust. Yeah.
Isn't that like the Cybertruck 4 years earlier?
I know, yeah. It's the Cybertruck definitely
O
looks like
link
it took some inspiration
do
from
canal de todos nós, ou seja,
for a car that came out 40 years
vão estar
ago.
aqui na
Still the most
descrição,
futuristic
inclusive servidores também.
there is.
Yeah.
It's like a spaceship.
Hey, so I know with Ready Player One and now with the release of Ready Player Two, your life's probably gone through a lot of change. Mine has too. You know, there was this time before, in the early days of Roblox, it was Eric and me, like two of us, just working on this thing, and then Matt and John joined us, and that was very different for me. You know, that was going in, writing code every day, quiet office. My life's completely different now, and now we have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of great people that all work together. How about you? Like, has your life changed?
My life has changed drastically. You know, when I was writing Ready Player One, I was working a tech support job. I was interested in technology, but I also wanted to be a writer, but I also was interested in computers.
Eu não tô entendendo nada,
tech support
velho.
was a way to kind of work in a facet of what I was interested in. But it was a grueling job where I was on the phone, you know, for 10 hours a day and helping people with their computers. And it wasn't a job that I enjoyed, but because I worked that job, a lot of elements of what I was learning about technology and helping
Ah,
people
mano,
use
tem um
computers,
cara
and
aí,
also the
velho.
job of being a tech support rep. That
É
all worked its
hacker,
way
velho.
into my novel,
Mano.
into Ready Player One. The way the
Mano,
main character works
cara
tech
tá aí
support
como?
in the Oasis
o cara ele tá voando
for a
ali,
while,
velho.
and so that was
É a
something for my
Bimbo.
life that ended up informing the story. So even though I
Hack.
didn't enjoy that job at the time, and
okay.
wished I was working somewhere else, now I'm grateful that I had that job and that experience, because it worked its way into my story.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like when I was a kid, we lived in a trailer park for a while, which was not fun. And my room was actually the tiny laundry room of the trailer, and it was just for a little while. But that was something that I put into Ready Player One. Wade sleeping in the laundry room of his trailer, and the stacks, and all of that came from this experience in my real life. I saw it depicted in a Steven Spielberg movie. So that's something I always like to tell aspiring writers about. Sometimes you're doing a job in your life, or you're living somewhere that you're not happy with, but later on that could help inspire you to write the story that could change your life. So you should kind of embrace those experiences, whatever is going on in your life, and try to put that into your work.
And I think there's a lot of optimism, in your books as well, around the power of imagination, and in effect the metaverse is built on imagination. So I always take that as a very optimistic thing for all of us that are trying to create, whether it's music or 3D or imagery. Hey, and then riffing on Ready Player 2, so the number 7's kind of relevant, and of course we're not in spoiler zone here, but hey, is this random? Is there some significance to this?
Tá voando.
Like the number 3 in Ready Player
One.
Number 7 is a number that comes up a lot in pop culture and in video games. And kind of collecting 7 pieces of something is something that would come up in Dungeons and Dragons modules, and also in like Sonic the Hedgehog had 7 Chaos Emeralds that were red, yellow, blue, cyan, white, purple, and green. And once you collected all of them, that's what you had to do to, I think, defeat Dr. Eggman and win the challenge. But there are a lot of quests that involve the number 7, and some songs that involve the number 7. And so I saw that was a way to weave all those things into the story and have a kind of a connecting element between them. So it'll make sense what I'm talking about once people out there read the book. But yeah, the number 7 was a big influence.
So hey, with Ready Player One, I think a lot of people who'd never worn a VR headset got exposure to the tech and to your vision through the book and through the movie. And part of the fun, I imagine, of being a sci-fi writer is you're also a futurist in a way. I mean, that's part of the gig of being a sci-fi writer, which sounds really fun. And I think, in Ready Player 2, I think you go even a little further, and there's some really exciting kind of vision going beyond that. When we at Roblox, we kind of did the same thing. We've had vision for 50 years, and it takes a lot of time for some of these things to become reality. But when they do, it's super satisfying. And I'm wondering for you, how's it feel when you see some things in real life come true, after you've written about them?
Well, it's gratifying, but I don't automatically assume that it was my book that helped inspire it, unless sometimes, like with the Oculus Rift.
Já deixa um like, se inscrevam no canal.
Things from Ready Player One had inspired them, but it's so much easier when you're a writer to just write. Wouldn't it be cool? Than it is to actually make
isso, galera? Que isso
design an
aqui?
amazing video game in a story.
Yeah.
But as you know, it's much harder to actually make the real thing.
I think that could be a good thing, though, right? Because us technologists, we can get locked in by how difficult it is to build stuff. Where writers and futurists, you have the freedom of the written word, right? There's no limit to what you can imagine, and then the technologists more have to figure out, can we really build it?
Right.
Como é que eu vou
And
mandar?
they're
Eu
the
vou
only ones
botar a
that
live
can't
aqui
really
só pra
if it
bater
was
os
just left up to the
5
writers, all this stuff would remain fantasy. That's something that I remember hearing about Star Trek, the old Star Trek series. They had those doors that would open automatically, and that's what inspired those doors in grocery stores. Like people at home saw that and then real engineers went and made it work. So science fiction has always kind of played that role of, you know, what extrapolating where our technology might go. But yeah, that's one of the funnest parts of being a science fiction writer is imagining where the technology will lead us, and then how
cara tá
the
fazendo a
technology,
dança do golfinho
once
ali.
it arrives, is going to affect people's day-to-day lives.
I love it because
Ainda
I think it's the
colocamos
best form of
marshmallow.
brainstorming is unencumbered brainstorming, you know, without limit. And I think that's a little bit of what you do in your book. So nice
Oh,
job.
thank you.
You know, almost like we're taking technology and then we go to pop culture at the same time. Like in Ready Player One and now Ready Player Two, like you have this amazing intersection of pop culture with a vision of the future, and I think the reader or the movie viewer can almost get a little bit of a vibe of some of the things that have been important in your life. Can you riff a bit on some of the pop culture influences you've had?
You know, they're endless. Anybody who read Ready Player One knows that my interest in pop culture is very broad. But for Ready Player Two, there are some specific facets of pop culture that I took inspiration from, like John Hughes.
Como pilotar
Huge fan of John
esse
Hughes
jato,
movies,
né?
especially the John Hughes movies that were set in
Esse
high
jato
school.
aí que você tá.
He created his own fictional high school.
Uma Kombi avião, na realidade. Ô, logo, toma aí, deixa eu pousar a live aqui.
Oh, calma aí, easter egg.
Peraí,
Ali, ó.
tem vários no cantinho.
Tem um aqui.
Eu tô voltando a live só pra ver. Eu tô mandando tudo pro teu chat. Vendo todos. Pegar mais um.
Tem um monte de easter egg, velho. Que isso?
Deve ser algum código aí.
Rasta, mai, pasta. Que?
A gente já pega.
One of my
Os códigos
favorites. I
tudo.
love the soundtrack as well to that.
Ah, mais um easter egg aqui.
Seems like the book was so fun to write.
Pegar tudo.
Moments that you felt were super fun without giving away too much.
You know, I don't think I can give away the super
Negócio branco
without
aí.
giving away too
Agora
much.
que a live
I will
atualizou.
tell you, it was I had fun. I had fun the whole time I was writing.
Mas tem um código aqui, ó.
Unlike with Ready Player One, when I wrote it, I knew I wasn't sure if anyone was ever gonna read it. You know, outside of my friends and family. Whereas this, I knew there were a lot of people waiting and excited to read it, and that whatever I wrote, you know, that story was going to play out. Those events were going to play out in, you know, millions of people's imagination. Imagination is even more powerful than computers or the movie platform. Like human imagination still can't beat that. So I had a lot of fun
nenhum
thinking
deve ser
about,
promo
you know,
code, não.
elements in the story that would set people's imagination alight, hopefully. So that's what I did my best. I really hope people enjoy it.
Well, I have a motion I make at Roblox, which is out of the park. So
Yeah. Oh.
I think it's out of the park. So I think everyone's gonna really enjoy reading Ready Player 2. Like, kudos to you. It's awesome. And I think also the Robloxians are gonna love the challenges as well that we've got in store. So Ernie, thanks again. You know, in the midst of all these crazy times, hanging with you has been a highlight for me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for making this opportunity. And thank you for teaming up with me to do another Ready Player One, Ready Player Two event. I had so much fun the first time. It really is like bringing the story to life. You guys know this is Roblox is the closest thing to the Oasis, and this contest is like the closest thing to, you know, a contest described in reality. You know, people all around the world can take part in it. It's really amazing. It's like bringing the story to life. So I can't thank you guys enough.
Thank you, Ernie, again. Over and out. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Dave.
Hey, this is Dave Suzuki, CEO, founder of Roblox, and I am here with Ernie Klein. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Dave. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, it's been a Ready Player One, but today it's Ready Player Two, and we're celebrating the publication in the U.S. and the U.K. I think it's safe to say this is probably the most highly anticipated fiction book of 2020. It's clearly on track to be a massive hit. I've read it. I'm blown away. It's worth it. It's worth the wait.
I'm excited for people to finally get to read it.
With Ready Player 2, we're going to see a lot of great stuff. There's another there's some technical advancements that Halliday left for Wade that change a lot of things. We've got a lot of action. I think it's not just the future of the Oasis, it's the future, I have to say. Because you're a visionary and you're thinking about VR all the time, I think there may be even hints and advancements there. So there's a lot of this thing.
A lot's happened since I wrote the first book. I sold it back in 2010, so it's been 10 years, and the whole landscape of VR has changed since then. So there was a lot to take into consideration when I was writing Ready Player 2.
The event we did on Roblox in 2018 had 13 million people participate. I think it's fair to say this is going to be even bigger.
That first Roblox event was amazing. I heard about it from
Valeu aí, Lucas, por mandar
all around the world.
prints.
We were excited about it. And my
Caralho.
eldest daughter, she was playing Roblox
Só
for
pra,
years, so
só
it's
pra
really
você
exciting
não
to
deixar
have Ready Player
despercebido aí, eu esqueci.
game for a while and have her compete in the contest. I warned her she couldn't
Antônio
win.
Flock mandou um salve. Salve, Antônio Flock.
Salve, Antônio Flock.
By Southwest, you hinted a little about your daughter. I'm flattered to hear she's hanging on Roblox in the midst of all that's going on right now. So thank you for sharing that with us.
It's been a
Ô
huge
Lucas,
building for, I think,
entra aí nesse grupo que eu vou convidar agora, você no Discord.
the Oasis the kids have right now, and just being able to jump
Calma
in,
aí.
to Roblox whenever they get bored and meet with their friends and spend time
Push.
together when they're interested in Oasis has been really therapeutic. So you guys are doing really good.
Okay, you're making history with Ready Player 2. Let's roll back to Ready Player 1.
Pronto.
Capture
Já entrei pelo teu convite
I
ainda.
think it's just so many people.
Entrou mesmo? Pera aí.
Do teu. Se eu não me engano, foi pelo teu.
Also incredible. Does anything stand out for all of us that, fantasize about
Essa forma eu vou apertar em intro.
Does anything stand out from that?
Acho que dá um bug aí, bem
The whole
nervoso.
experience stands out. This past year, I
Nunca se sabe.
memories of it. So I've been quarantined for
Sai aí do grupo e entra no meu, pelo meu convite.
2018 just exceeded all my expectations. Really what you
Sai
imagine
do
making a movie with Steven
servidor.
Spielberg is like it's really like that. It's like a dream come true, and I got to see so
Galera,
many
já se
things
inscrevam
that
no
were in my book,
canal,
brought to life, including the stacks.
deixem um like,
Like this idea of stacked trailers that I
compartilhem
built in my
para todos seus
imagination ended up getting built
amigos.
for real. So that stands out to me. I remember driving towards Leeson Studio in London and seeing the stacks on the skyline for real. And
Praticamente você tá com dois
engineers had built this thing that I
vídeos.
just imagined.
When you have this in your imagination and then all of a sudden you see
Okay.
it in the movie in
That's
real
how you
life,
got.
how does that feel? Was it at the point of your imagination? Beyond your
Quando vai
imagination?
ver
Like how do
live,
the two line
eu
up?
prometo, eu vou
Well,
trazer
in my
jogo
imagination, I
novo,
don't
vai ser
drill
um
down
vídeo.
into all the
Você tá
minute
muito tempo que eu
details.
faço vídeo, vai
The
ser
way
vídeo de
that
Among
you
Us,
movie, you have to address the sense of
que
imagination. So I could
eu
walk
sei
into
que
stacks of trailers
eu
and go
não
into
sei se deve ter
trailers
gente jogando ainda, mas
and live there.
faz tempo que eu não vejo um vídeo no filme novo de Among Us. Então é isso, eu vou trazer um vídeo e eu só queria ver isso mesmo.
It's really a surreal experience. Felt like a dream kind of the whole time I was there. So even looking back on it now, I have to remind myself, oh, it really happened.
I know from last time we talked, you're a big Spielberg fan. We move out of science fiction into non-science fiction movies. You've got a huge collection there as well. Is there anything that pops out to you like an old favorite?
Out of his non-science fiction films, I would say Jaws is probably my all-time.
getting into Ready Player
Agora eu
2,
consigo trocar de
in a
navegador.
way,
Não, agora eu tenho coragem. Agora eu vou trocar
contributed a bit to the advancement of
para.
VR.
Então eu não quero fazer
Any way
propaganda
you
porque
can think about how you've seen this
ninguém tá
pan out
pagando o
in almost
02 pra
real
fazer
life. For us, you know, in the midst of
propaganda.
COVID, like I mentioned, we've seen the virtual birthday parties, people trying to connect, younger people trying to figure out how to, you know, work at a distance. Have you seen any of this come true in your life?
Yeah, I mean, everything happens. You know, even the news anchors, and every host of late night television, everybody's having to do everything virtually through the internet, including my daughter, who's going to school online, and also the evenings she'll hang out with her friends in Roblox and spend time in a virtual space there. Which reminds me, she wanted me to ask you, just get her opinion.
I think there's probably like hundreds of different types of unicorns, and now that we've opened up the UGC store on Roblox, there are probably people making unicorns.
Oh, right on.
So absolutely, like you know,
Por
high
enquanto
five
lá,
to
de
that.
duas
A lot of
pessoas,
people now are
5
talking
likes,
about the
tá?
metaverse.
E show de
I've
bola.
also seen people start to chat not just about how we work or how we learn, but how we consume entertainment, how we work together. Ultimately, I think the vision of Ready Player One and Ready Player Two, and thinking about this vision of the metaverse, is all these things we do in real life we can start to imagine, you know, doing in the metaverse. Have you seen any other pandemic-related things going on related to that, or any other metaverse-related advancements since you wrote Ready Player One?
Yeah, a bunch. You know, so much of what I was just imagining Ready Player One has since come about.
É, Amanda Fox. A gente tá... Mano, esse negócio aí, esse evento aí do Roblox tá meio chatinho, né?
There's a VR app called
Não
Pixel.
tô entendendo nada também.
And with up
Os
to like
caras,
12 of your friends and
chegou
all
uma
watch the movie.
pessoa, Amanda Fox.
And afterwards,
Salve,
when we hung
Amanda
out
Fox,
in a
muito
virtual
obrigado por
space,
estar
you kind
assistindo a
of
live
really
nesse
feel like you spent time
documento.
together. It's really amazing.
Yeah, so we
E
did,
bom
you know, like the
como
One
você
World
consegue
Together
ver
concert inside of
como,
Roblox, and there was this really
como posso dizer,
interesting thing of
nem no
walking
evento eu
around
não
with
estou no
friends.
game.
Já se inscreve no canal, deixa o like aí, compartilha pros amigos. E mano, esse negócio aqui tá muito estranho, meu. Eu não tô entendendo nada, velho.
Não tá acontecendo absolutamente nada.
E o que eles estão falando aí, eu não tô entendendo nada.
So I'm looking behind you at your vehicles.
I actually have
Eu
two
vou usar o Opera
DeLoreans
a
sitting
partir
back
de
here.
hoje, você consegue.
So this is my garage where I come for inspiration.
When I was just out of high school, I had a 1969 Pontiac Firebird, 402-inch V8, 4-speed. I know DeLorean is like super favorite for you. Do you use the DeLorean? Like how often do you drive it?
I like to take this car out every night between usually like 8 and 10 o'clock and listen to 80s music and just like
Eu
recharge
vou dar uma
my
saída da sua live
creative
rapidão,
batteries.
beleza?
And whenever I take it out, it always
Eu tô
makes me
trocando de
happy.
navegador
See
aqui
in the car,
pro navegador que eu não quero dizer o nome, porque ninguém tá pagando a propaganda.
So it's like a
Galera,
traveling,
vocês querem que eu finalize a live? Tá meio chata e não tô entendendo nada que eles estão falando. Vocês querem que eu finalize a live?
Yeah, they're all like 35 years old. They made all the DeLoreans between 81 and 82. They're all about 40, almost 40 years old now, and they do require a lot of work to keep them running. And then plus adding they obviously don't come with all the flux capacitor and wormhole emitter and all the Back to the Future gear. That's all has to be kind of scavenged and cobbled together. So I've been making it more screen accurate over the years. There's always more tweaks I can do to make it cooler. So it's like a hobby, you know. Having a car like an old car like this antique is you know it's
And I think, in a sense, those are stainless, aren't they? Like,
oh yeah, they never rust. Yeah.
Isn't that like the Cybertruck 4 years earlier?
I know. Yeah. It's the Cybertruck definitely looks like it took some inspiration from the DeLorean. for a car that came out 40 years ago, it's still the most futuristic looking car there is. It's like a spaceship.
Hey, so I know with Ready Player One and now with the release of Ready Player Two, your life's probably gone through a lot of change. Mine has too. There was this time before, in the early days of Roblox, it was Eric and me, like two of us, just working on this thing, and then Matt and John joined us, and that was very different for me. That was going in, writing code every day, quiet office. My life's completely different now, and now we have hundreds and hundreds of great people that all work together. How about you? Like, has your life changed?
My life has changed drastically. Since when I was writing Ready Player One, I was working a tech support job. I was interested in technology, but I always wanted to be a writer, but I also...
Beleza, já que ninguém tá respondendo, galera, se inscrevam no canal que eu vou finalizar a live. Se inscrevam no canal, compartilhem entre todos os amigos do canal. Então, tchau, galera.